Hi friends! This is Dainty Tank. Thank you for joining me. This is Highway Blossoms Next Exit DLC. Part 7, lucky number 7. I'm guessing. I'm making a judgment call. Editing Dainty Tank will figure this out. But it doesn't matter. You know what matters? The light's really bright. Why are you bright? Stop being bright. It's bright in my eyes. And yes, I have a ring light. I learned not to be in the dark. And I also learned being a little wind chime during these helps. Specifically for this series, I love this publisher and this team and this development team. I am struggling with the communication. So I'm hoping, let's give it another gung-ho try. Marina's adorable, but she's so adorable. Absolutely freaking adorable. However, the communication is such a failure. Oh, in so many ways. It's just communication failures, baby dyke drama, and actual trauma to a child. So, I don't know if you've noticed my feelings on that one. Hopefully, things start to resolve soon. I am very hopeful because of the fact that this DLC is trying to kind of close and wrap up things. So hopefully it can create a nice tidy little lid to plop down there after it does its little baby doc drama. So gotta go through that first. Speaking of drama and trauma all in one, let's see what happens with Tess as well as our lady duo trio here. Clickety clack. Alright. Marina and Cassie are both right where I left them, as are every single item we have for sale. Yeah, turning that down. Yeah, you're not doing so great. No surprises there. Shove my way through shambling burger customers and slide back behind our booth.
You get lost on the way?
Actually, yeah. Couldn't find the vending machine, so I let myself get ripped off and bought one of these.
Hold up a bottle for both of them to see. It's a souvenir plastic bottle with a convention's logo covering most of it.
Filled with the finest tap water from a water fountain.
Delightful. I take a sip and try to ignore the plasticky aftertaste.
Did I miss anything?
Not at all.
Mare didn't talk your ear off, did she?
Put my hand on Marina's shoulder, but she shrugs off with a cold look. Yeah, nah, you can't get back in like that.
Nope. I think I might have talked hers off, though.
Wow, I'm shocked. I would have figured you got her whole life story while I was gone.
Do you know her whole life story? Why are you flirting with this random girl? Marina rolls her eyes and stands up, stalking past me to go pointlessly rearrange the items on display once again. Okay, is that what the adorable bouncing is? Alright, arrange, bounce, arrange, bounce. Got it.
Nah, just talked about where we're from and how we ended up here. Turns out the two of us have a lot in common.
Seriously?
Yeah, we've both got the same kind of wanderlust, I think. Only difference is I never got to burn mine off on an epic road trip with my girlfriend.
Okay, two things there. One, wanderlust, nice. That's throwing me back to 7th grade. Also, epic road trip with girlfriend. Hell yeah. Take a seat on the now empty chair right beside the girl that I am flirting with instead of my girlfriend.
Hey, The RV's always got room for one more if you ever get sick of this place.
No. Cassie's face. Cassie's face is sitting there like, nope, drama, nope.
I'm sure Marina would be cool with it too. Right, Mare?
No. There's a loud rattle as Marina spills a basket of candy on the ground. One of the packs explodes open, sending shrapnel of chocolate and peanut brittle scattering.
Mare?
Stand up, Bryce. Marina's hand tightens into the fist. When I place my hand on her shoulder, this time, she doesn't shrug it off, but I feel her body shaking. You deserve everything that's about to happen. Oh, when she finally turns around, there are tears in her eyes. Ah, crap. There we go, the trio.
So, do you feel anything?
Thank you, Dr. Joe. Gotcha. Tess continued to squeeze the man in the gray alien's mascot suit, counting the seconds in her head until she reached 20, because 20 was the amount of seconds an article she read said it would take until a hug would release endorphins.
I did for a couple seconds, but it's gone now.
She backed away, her arms leaving an imprint on the chubby suit. Tess looked up at the alien's lifeless black eyes and bowed.
Sorry, mister.
No. Joe and Tess wandered off. The next child in line tackled the alien with a sprinting hug, weighing the immobile suit to the ground. Children swarmed him as the line devolved. Chaos reigned. The children planted their flag in his belly and claimed him as their own. Dainty Tank has a lot more words when she's drinking. Cheers. Anyways.
It's all good, kiddo. At least you felt something, right?
Feelings are fleeting.
Feelings are fleeting. Life doesn't matter.
But memories last a lifetime.
That 2 seconds with a click of the tongue and a finger gun. Oh no, I did it. Oh, it's all my fault. Flick of tongue and a finger gun for good measure. He handed her back her disposable camera. Tess stared at her reflection in the polished floor. Joe patted her head, and each time it landed, she felt like a nail being hammered back into place. Good child.
If I'm not mistaken, we each have 4 or so tickets left. How's my math?
Pretty good. We have 8 altogether.
Jeez, $40 really doesn't take you far here, huh? I thought the carnies back home were bad.
We're all just marks waiting to be worked, brother.
Oh. Joe scanned the hall, searching for anything other than another carnival game. Tess was too good at those, and after a few minutes of holding her giant stuffed prizes, her arms would get tired. Each and every time, she would hand them off to people she thought needed them more. Toddlers, fighting couples, and those weirdos in costumes. Nothing impressed her. It was as if she saw the whole world in muted monochrome, and she was at least 10 years too early for that. A kid should be able to look around her and view everything with hopeful vibrancy, like it's all being seen for the first time. It was a precious point of view that had been taken away from Joe too early, but Tess had a birthright to it, just as much as any other kid, yet it was something he was beginning to feel like had been taken away from her too. Yeah, kinda, yeah. And that maybe he had something to do with it. But to be very fair to you, you are trying more than most. Maybe all the treasure hunts and scrambling and general insanity had zapped the poor kid's spirit before it even ever really took off. Mariah couldn't be held responsible for it. She could hardly be held responsible for herself. So whenever Joe looked down and saw Tess's quiet, pale face staring into the distance, into a Missouri summer that neither he nor Mariah could bear to let her experience. He felt the burden way heavier and heavier. And it was his burden. Yeah, he's kind of raising Tess. As they wrapped around the corner, Joe locked in onto the biggest thing in sight. A bouncy castle. It was saucer-shaped, spectacle, chrome silver with a green bulb at the very top. Every few moments, there was an unmistakable jumping rhythm. A kid's silhouette would leap up before being pulled back down.
Hey, how about that bouncy UFO over there?
Tess took one look at the UFO and took 2 steps so she could hide behind Joe.
Let's not.
Hold on, her eyes.
Hey, how about that
That is sheer terror.
Let's not.
And why not?
Sign says it costs 8 tickets. Only one of us could go in.
That's her trying to say no. She glanced over at it. Kid tumbled out of the entrance with a somersault, stood up, shook it off, and then dove back in. Yeah, it's a free-for-all in bouncy castles. I mean, look at that face. It's sheer shell shock.
It should be you.
Call it a hunch, but somehow I get the feeling they wouldn't be very accommodating to a 6'3", 200-pound man. But tell you what, you can have my leftover tickets and spend some time in there yourself.
You're 6'3" and 200 pounds? Holy smokes, dude. You are skinny mini for your height. Like, skinny mini for your height. Her shoulders stiffened. She wished she were one of those desert tortoises she saw sometimes. At least they could hide in their shells.
Do I have to, Joey?
He blows his hand behind her back and ushered her along.
Yeah, sure. When's the last time you played with kids your own age?
Never.
It'll do you some good then. Come on.
He guided her to the entrance of the UFO and handed her his 4 tickets. She limply held up the 8 tickets. A bored teenager with with the word staff. With a sword staff. If a sword said the word staff on it, I'd be a lot more interested. And so would bored teenager, I think. Written on his shirt in tape. Snatched them from her before she could take a single breath. He tossed them into a trash can next to his folding chair.
No shoes or outside toys.
The teen pointed at the grovel latched onto her back. Tess looked to Joey with pleading eyes, hoping that if she looked uncomfortable enough, he would change his mind.
I'll keep watch. You don't have to worry about anyone stealing it.
It seemed all but inevitable now. Tess bent down and unlaced her hiking boots, set them side by side, aligning them with all the Velcro strapped sneakers that had been tossed aside. Next up was the grovel. She slid it from its sheath. The whole thing was almost as tall as her. She cradled it in both arms, then laid it on top of the row of shoes. Its weight flattened all of them at its toes. Tess stood in front of the inflatable horror looming over her. Piercing shrieks rang out like the screams of the damned clawing through the earth's crust. What were they doing to each other in there? Oh, God. What would they do to her?
Come on, kid, there's a line.
The teen shoved her into the entrance. The curtain swallowed her entire body. In her last act of despair, she reached out her hand towards the light.
Joey!
Joe swelled with pride as he watched Tess get whisked away to adventure. What a little trooper! Inside the bouncy castle, Tess rolled in like a tumbleweed blown off the street. Screams from before were all around her now. Boys and girls leapt and bounced, some high enough to touch the bulb at the top, maybe even high enough to touch the top of the stratosphere. Oh, God, this is so creepy. The walls tinted everything a swampish green. In the far corner, there was a boy jumping alone. He had been jumping for so long his face had turned purple, swelling to the point where he looked like a selfish squirrel. When he saw Tess, he grinned, the gaps in his teeth looking like tiny black holes. He never stopped bouncing. Tess made the jiggly, unbalanced journey to her feet. As she stood, a girl swooped in next to her and screamed in her ear. The pitch was high enough to induce tinnitus. If Tess's eardrums had been made of glass, they would have shattered. Tess fell back to her knees. Her ears throbbed. The girl stood over her, giggling. Tess loosely raised a finger in protest.
Could you not do?
The girl ignored her, bouncing away with her pigtails flowing behind her.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Gradually, Tess's hearing faded back to her, a buzz now ringing in the depths of her ears. All she could do to keep herself from dwelling on it was to focus on the electrical hum of air being pumped into the UFO. She listened close enough, it sounded like chanting. Tess trembled to her feet, her head swinging back and forth to make sure she wasn't snuck up on again. The place stunk of sweat and socks, a pungent smell that didn't so much as attack you but seep into you. Just that seeped into the rubber walls. She tried to put on a brave face, tried to be courageous. Joey had told her to play with other kids her own age. God. Children are terrifying. If it had been her sister, she would have already pieced out. But this was Joey, and he's trying. He actually cared. Oh, my love. He wanted her to be okay. And if this is what being okay meant, then she needed to try. Because if she didn't, maybe he wouldn't be okay. It was probably already the reason why Marina hadn't texted her once this entire time. She must have finally realized Tess was a freak. A freckled ginger boy bounced past her. She raised her hand.
Excuse.
He had leapt on past her. Another girl. This one had a tight ponytail, a sweatshirt, with a horse on it. She was doing cartwheels.
Pardon.
Ignored. From across the console, a tank of a boy stumbled over. With every step he took, one of the children sprawled out on the floor, would be launched several inches in the air, as if the rules of gravity bent themselves to this child's whim. Whoa. Sorry. Yep. It's as if the rules of gravity bent themselves to this child's whim. He stopped in front of Tess. His breathing was heavy and fierce. Like a caribou in the winter tundra, he glared at her. He scrunched up his eyes, looking like they might sink into his wrinkled nose. The longer he stared, the smaller Tess felt. And the smaller Tess felt, the larger he looked. But this wasn't the time to feel small. This was the time to feel brave. She extended her hand, poised for the hardiest handshake her thin fingers would be able to squeeze out.
Play?
His gaze shifted down to her hand, then shifted back to her. God, this is terrifying. Children are so terrifying. His mouth opened like a drawbridge to a castle. He unleashed a mighty roar from the depth of his chest. It wasn't enough to send Tess flying back, but a piece of breath might have been.
I am King Jeremy! Duel me!
I am King Jeremy! Duel me! Duel me, small girl! I am the king of this bouncy UFO. The gangly teenager outside didn't even pay attention long enough to realize kingship had been had. Oh my god. King Jeremy stomped both feet and took his battle stance. The same one he'd seen in a sumo wrestler do on TV. Boom, boom, roar! But it couldn't be Tess that took up the challenge. A boy with a wire-framed glasses stepped forward.
No, I am Liberty Man, and I will defeat you with my Holy Grail powers.
Holy Grail powers. Okay. Is it that you're going to replace the Holy Grail with a sack of just junk from the temple, or is it that you're gonna sip from it and then you're gonna melt like that Nazi? You're too young for that.
You're cheating! Liberty Man doesn't have Holy Grail powers!
Okay, what does he have?
Nuh-uh! 'Cause I'm also a knight!
A knight! Another boy shouted.
I wanted to be a knight.
No, children. I don't understand children. Oh my god, it's just so creepy. Ninja. Samurai? Do we get samurai next? And another. Pirate! Pirates versus ninjas. Why didn't I see that coming? And another. Astronaut. You know, that classic duo. You know, an astronaut definitely goes with the other categories. You know. King, knight, pirate, ninja, astronaut. From there. Oh god. Oh Jesus. Oh god. Oh my god. From there, descended into a debate of professions ranging from the mundane to the magical. Tess could only watch in stuttering horror as the battle lines were drawn around her, till finally, sides had been taken. She was left in the middle.
So, what are you? She looks like a hobo.
She looks like a hobo. That's so mean.
Wait, no.
But it was too late. It was like a plague. Every child picked up on it. The very essence of hobo had been carved into Bouncy Castle lore.
I want to be a hobo. Please, don't. She's already the hobo. I'm not a hobo. I'm not.
It occurred to Tess just how hot the inside of the Bouncy Castle was. Where are you staring? Why did the camera shift like this? There's feet in this picture. The air was stale and hovered over her like a humid day at the river. Her breathing was short, shallow, impossible to control. Her chest heaved in and out, taking in oxygen by the shovelful.
I knight you as Sir Hobo!
Sir Hobo. No longer children, but shadows. They circled around her like their mutterings of hobo forming into an amorphous suggestion of the word. Even when they weren't saying hobo, they were saying hobo. Why was she a hobo? Did she smell? Or maybe they didn't like her? Was this rejection? If it was, would they punish her, scream in her other ear, yell at her? Would Sis yell at her later because of this? Would that make her sad? Would that cause Joey to not be okay? Would Marina stop talking to her altogether? Would it all be her fault? It would. It would have to be. And then she would lay awake at night when it was dark, when bad things happened, when bad thoughts happened. Would her life always be that? Just one big bad thought?
Hobo! Hobo!
was a church choir now, and the entire congregation, except for her, was singing. This is terrifying. The girl with the pigtail screamed. Tess shoved through the crowd of regular, giggling children who were not singing, chanting, or even in a choir. She ran for the exit. Back outside, Joe swallowed back a yawn. Tess bounced out of the UFO. The teen working the entrance looked at his phone as she darted off. Her head swung back and forth, the silent promise that she would never go back.
Tess? Hold up! Where are you headed? Tess!
He watched as the top of Tess's bandana disappeared into a sea of attendees. Some made space for her, most didn't.
Crap.
Yeah. He rushed over to grab Tess's belongings.
Wait, you can't just leave your things here! Tess!
He sprinted out to the play area, her shoes and Crovel. What the heck is a Crovel? Look at that in just a little bit. Swinging in his hands.
Tess! Where are you? Just say something so I know you're okay!
A flood of worst-case scenarios spiraled through his thoughts. Running away. Kidnapped. Hurt. The usual suspects. There was one image that haunted him, and despite him never having been witness to it, it had carved itself into his memories for years. It remained there for his entire life. In this vivid painting, where the water flowed, a toad croaked, and brush dripped the humidity of summer, there was a small body that floated down the stream, face down, bobbing with the current. Except in the bow, the body had platinum hair, a red bandana that was sopping wet. They were pale and still. He tried to push it out of his mind. I was about to say, this sounds like trauma, my love. Like, all of you would do great with therapy. Please go to therapy. Thinking about it made it harder to run. Harder to breathe. But it wouldn't go away. Not really. His burden to bear. Finally, there was some respite, assurance that it was okay, that Tess was okay. Far from activities where the crowds had thinned and decorations were sparse, Tess sat against the wall. There's one drinking fountain on the wall. She sat directly under it, curled into a ball with her knees drawn into her chest. She rocked back and forth, her bandana shadowing her face. Joe breathed a sigh of relief. On the off chance there was someone up there looking out for her, he looked up and tipped his bandana. He strolled over to Tess and shot her a smile.
How's it going, kiddo?
Not good, according to what the heck you just saw. No response.
I think you forgot these.
He leaned her Crovel against the wall. His adrenaline told him to just drop the shoes, but he made sure to place them gently at her feet instead. Her shoulders huffed twice. She looked up at him. 2 tears slipped out of the corners of her eyes. Otherwise, there were no sore eyes or a puffy face. Joe dropped to one knee.
Hey, is everything okay?
She shook her head. Once left, once right.
I don't know if I'm happy or not.
His mouth hung open as he tried to formulate a response. All the truth was as obvious as the 2 tears sliding down her cheeks. No happy person would ask that question.
Do you feel unhappy?
She nodded.
I think so.
Joe frowned and looked away. The guilt made it too hard to look at her. Tess wiped away her tears and sniffed up something else.
Are you afraid to cry?
Not really. I just don't feel like doing it now.
So you feel better?
No. Just don't feel like crying now.
Crying takes a lot of energy.
Ah.
Other kids cry a lot. They scream too. I don't know how they do it so much. It seems hard.
She brought her knees further into her chest.
And scary.
Emotions are pretty scary.
Yes. I want them to go away.
You feel them a lot, huh?
Yes and no. Sometimes I feel a little. Sometimes I feel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like...
Feels like. Tess ruffled her bandana and tried to think of words. Words were hard. Finding words for herself were harder.
It feels like... people want me to feel a lot when I feel a little. Or want me to feel a little when I feel a lot.
Did you feel a lot back there?
Whew. Joe motioned down the hall where the bouncy castle was, where all the hectic things were.
Too much. Like, I shouldn't be there. And they made me not want to be there. It's always like this when I try to play.
Joe tilted his head.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know.
Joe's shoulders slumped. The kid really had a way of taking the calcium out of your milk.
A lot when a little, huh?
Yeah, but it's okay, Joey. It's just how it is.
Oh, my love.
It isn't, though.
He clenched the fabric of his jumpsuit, cursing the person who made an 11-year-old think the world worked this way, then cursed himself for his role in it.
You're wrong. It is. Sis yells at me because I feel a little. You run after me because I feel a lot. It's okay. It's what I do. And it's what grown-ups do.
Single dimple formed on Tess's cheek.
Except Marina. I like her. She's nice and talks to me about fun things. Sis says it's because she's special. I think she's right. Marina is very special.
Ah. Joe decided he'd swat Marina over the head later for that one.
But I think I scared her away. Too freaky. Because I'm me.
The one was the hardest for Tess to say. She wished she hadn't, because the second she said it, it felt true. Her bottom lip quivered.
I just wish I wasn't me. And that not me was like everyone else.
Oh.
And I wish I was okay.
The heartbreak that had been collapsing in on Joe fell then and there. No one looked at Tess like a person, let alone a child. Not even Tess. Not even him. She was just an enigma. Icy set piece that existed to make everyone else feel whole, but not herself. He had enabled that. The narrative that small people only felt simple things. It all come full circle. Joe clutched the plastic dog tag strung around his neck. Either through inspiration or determination, a small fire sparked inside of him. New song. She had tried to explain herself to him as well as she could. So it's only fair to do the same. Do we get to learn something about Joe? Alrighty, let's give this a shot.
You know, I used to not be okay.
And it's okay not to be okay. Tess's eyes grew wide in disbelief, then small in suspicion.
This is a ploy.
No, honest. I was pretty messed up as a kid.
Is that how you found Mariah?
That doesn't sound right. You're too normal.
Pretty confident for someone who wasn't even alive to see it.
Before I was born?
There was a time before, yes. The allure of the before times was too great to ignore. It seemed mystical to her, the era of ancients.
I was a lot different back then. Everything was different, I guess.
Did she dare to ask?
Different how?
She dared.
Well, I had a brother, for one.
That's where I was so afraid that would go. Exclamation points went off in Tessa's head. She had at least a dozen questions to ask. But before she could bring up any of them, the truth made itself known to her. The exclamation points became ellipses.
Oh, sorry.
It was a long time ago.
She stayed silent.
You aren't going to ask?
Wouldn't it be rude?
Oh, you considerate, wonderful child. Joe shrugged.
His name was Benjamin, but I just called him Benji. Yeesh, my mom would always throw a fit when she heard me call him that. Benjamin is a perfectly lovely name, and all that jazz.
It's biblical.
Most things are, kid.
Tess recalled the handful of times she had been dragged to Sunday school. Her blood ran cold with Old Testament fear. As it should. Those are terrifying. If you ever look back at them, oh my god. Woo! They were so terrifying. Her voice went quiet.
Was it a plague?
Yes, it was.
No, nothing like that.
Shoot.
He drowned.
Oh, shouldn't have made a joke about that. We knew it was coming because there was a whole setup. Tess drifted around to find a comfortable position, but remained thoroughly uncomfortable. It wasn't scary, just sad, and Joey sounded sad when he said it.
I was younger than you when it all went down, and he was even younger than that, so he...
You were the older brother. Losing track, Joe scratched his head. Half of him felt like he had traveled back in time. That sweltering day where stepping outside felt like stepping out of a shower. The other half of him felt like it didn't exist.
Yeah, couldn't swim. I told him I would teach him how, but there was an auto show at the pharmacy. The Pop's shop was sponsoring. You've met my Pops, right?
Very big. Very scary.
Nah, he just doesn't talk much. Kinda like you. I wish he did, though.
Why are you trying to delay this? He thought saying it changes nothing.
Anyway, I said that he should go to the river and that I'd catch up. They found him a few days later.
Saying it out loud changed everything. Tess thought about how many times she had swam in that river and how she might never want to again. She thought about how Joey looked like a new Joey. Tess reached over to touch his leg, not knowing anything else to do except placing a hand on it.
Are you okay now?
Oh, usually. It comes and goes. Comes when I worry about folks. Goes when I know they're okay. But back then, well, I guess no one would be okay after that. And I wasn't.
That's fair. You didn't know. You were a kid.
Did you feel a lot?
Stared down at her and grinned, but Tess knew it was just for pretend.
Too much. Too sad, too guilty, too angry. Mom was hysterical through all of it, and I can't really blame her. Pops never talked about it, threw out most of Benji's things within a week. Can't really blame him either.
A lot and a little.
Yep, and I must be their kid, because I got both of those things.
Joe toyed with the dog tag, twirling his fingers through the chain, weighed more than the plastic it was supporting.
Some days I skipped school and would just sunbathe on the riverbank. Looking back, that was probably weird. But being so close to where it happened, made it feel like it hadn't. But then, when I would go out, everything was just a reminder. People would look at me and I'd get heated. They'd whisper and I'd lash out. I thought maybe they were talking about how it was my fault. Or maybe they just felt bad. Didn't matter. Both scenarios really ticked me off.
You sound paranoid, like sis.
Yep.
Probably was. It was pretty lonely. Picking fights with people doesn't make you a lot of friends. Mariah being the exception.
I was about to say, how'd that come up?
Probably was. It was pretty.
Tess considered this, imagining Joey sitting as he is now, except now in the middle of a wheat field, a plain sword far above him in the distance.
I hope you're not lonely anymore.
Of course not. I got you, don't I?
Yeah, you do.
And sis.
Especially your sister. And remind me to wash my mouth out with soap later for saying that. She was as mouthy back then as she is now, and I didn't exactly practice the art of pacifism. So us getting to know each other may or may not have involved a fist fight on the playground.
That sounds right. Did she beat you?
Sounds about right.
Facts.
Couldn't have happened any other way.
I really want to know who won.
But as crazy as it sounds, she was the only one who would let my emotions play out.
Did not compute. Tess wrinkled her nose, unable to imagine any scenario where her sister would show as weak of a display as empathy.
That's impossible. She would never do that. Also, she would probably call you a crybaby.
Don't get me wrong, she absolutely did. But she would always stick around. Didn't matter how many times I told her to go away. It was always, shape up, slacker! That lemonade stand ain't gonna build itself!
Oh, that sounds more like her. Does that count?
Not sure. I like to think she was trying to help in her own way. It might be the only way, and I'm better off for it.
Are you, though? Like, it really sounds like your family neglected you and you really need to go to therapy. Also, same with both of you. So I'm glad all of you found yourselves a nice little found family, which is heartwarming. Please go to therapy. I love you all. The conversation petered into fumes. They both stared ahead, watching the spattering of people occasionally walk by. A lot had been said. Even more had been thought. Much of what Joey had told her was sad, but for some reason, she felt warm. The conversation had felt like a hug. She had been right. He was a new Joey, but perhaps this one was better. He looked Tess straight in the eye, as much as he could under the water fountain. Joe had no illusions that he understood everything, or that any of the things he had said would make her feel better. But doing this was at least something.
Things are different for each of us, Tess. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. It's not always going to be okay. You won't always be okay.
Oh, wise Joe.
And there are going to be times you might not even know why.
Yeah. A hollow space trolled itself into Tess's chest, dug its way down to her gut.
But I'll be here, even if you never feel okay ever again.
So much love. Oh my god. However, the thing about hollow spaces is that there's always room for it to be filled.
That said, not feeling okay sucks though. So let's try to boost your chances.
He pulled the dog tag over his head. At first, Tess wasn't sure what to do. She watched the tag sway from the chain as he held it out. Cautiously, she opened her palm and reached out. He dropped it in her hand, the beads of the chain rattling behind it. She squinted and read the faded name carved into it.
What is this?
A good luck charm. Might not seem like a real dog tag, but the engraver who gave it to my brother said it works twice as well.
A lump formed in Tess's chest. It snaked its way up to her throat and she could feel it clenching.
I'm not a very lucky guy though, so try to give it back once you don't need anymore, okay?
Oh. couldn't see now. Everything looked like a blur of watercolors. She clutched the charm in her fist, brought it to her chest.
Joey, I think I feel like crying now.
She choked only the first 2 sobs before Joey pulled her in. Tess clutched his jumpsuit and cried into it. No one seemed to pay them any mind.
Babe. Hey, what's wrong?
Everything, babe. Okay. Before we get into this, oh my god, let's process. Okay, drinking was the best way to go with this. I will admit this now. Drinking has made this a billion times better. Also, oh my god, the feelings. Children are terrifying. A, and 1, and always. B, or double I, dot. Don't poke. I've been drinking, deal with it. 2, oh my god, Joey had a brother. 3, please go to therapy. I love all of you, and I'm so glad that all of you have found family, and it makes me feel a lot more connected to all of you together now that I know your traumatic past and that you've all trauma bonded and made yourselves a little family. But oh my god, please. Oh my god, you need so much therapy. You need so much love and therapy, and I love you all. Please be safe. Before we get into the hot mess that is this baby dyke drama, just stating now, if you ever need anybody, you feel all of the feelings you're feeling with Tess or Joe or even Mariah, especially Mariah, please check in the description down below. I have a link to the Trevor Project, and it's okay to message them. It's okay not to be okay. Joe said it best there. It's okay not to be okay, and we all don't feel okay sometimes, especially in LGBTQIA plus community members. We all have different needs, and it's okay to not be okay. Just reach out. There's people who care. There's people who love, especially me. I love you all. I'm so thankful for every single one of you. And with that, we're going to stop here for today. I feel all the feelings, feel all the sad. I think I'm going to keep up this habit of drinking for the rest of the series because obviously it turned out well. So, with that, I love you all. And I'll see you next time. Bye!